Then coming to examination pass percentage. Do you know about how is the pass percentage? What is the pass percentage and all? How much
No.
mark you want to pass the examination? Any idea about that?
I heard 75%.
Okay, 75. Is exactly if you're talking, it's 72 percentage. Okay, I will just give you a brief about how the mark is given. Okay, even though it's a 4-hour examination, if you get more than 50% of the total score, then in the MCQs, that is, there is 100 MCQs. If you get more than 50% of the total score, then only you will go to the essay question. Otherwise, your exam will finish in 3 hours. Okay.
Okay.
If your exam finish in 3 hours, come to a conclusion that you didn't succeed. You just need to study well and don't need to wait for the result. Result will come anyway after 2 months. Okay, but still, you can get the result at the same time. You will understand what is the result is. Second thing, the pass percentage for each paper is around 45 to 50%. That is 40 to 50%. That is the range. Then here the MCQs are like, we don't have any negative marks. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Then what else we have to discuss? Okay, then I will just give you an introduction to how the mark is divided, because that is crucial when you start the course. Okay. Just a second. See, we from the institute side, we will give you the soft copy of the textbook and even the physical copy of the textbook. Then we will give you an online access of GLAM website. Okay. So in that you will get all these chapters and subunit wise questions. You might get around 2000 2300 questions in full paper. Okay. And that is enough for you to pass the examination. You don't need to search for any other materials or things, because this is almost completing every area. Okay. And there is weightage for each subject matter, like parts. For external reporting, it's 15%, planning budgeting 20%, performance management 20, costing management 15, internal controls 15, technology and analysis, that is IT, 15%. So the thing is that you can't skip any area. Like, for example, you might not like internal controls. Okay. If you skip internal control, then you could attend the exam only for 85% of the questions. Clear? So it will drastically reduce the chances of your pass. Okay. So you can't skip anything. That's first thing you have to keep in your mind. Not like the academic courses, like we skip few chapters and go for examination, still we pass, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then coming to the exam points. Then okay, in each chapters, first you need to understand what kind of material you are having, right? So the material which you have, the textbook, each chapters is divided into subunits. Okay, each unit is divided into subunits. So even at the textbook also, after completing one subunit, you could see the instruction that you have few questions at the back of the textbook. Like here, I think you can see, right? When you complete the subunit, you could see that there is 3 questions in the back page. Clear?
Okay, you're right.
So the advisable thing is from my side is that after you complete one subunit, go to the back side of the textbook. Okay, do these 3 questions.
Okay.
Come back. Or even if you have more time, then you could do one thing. The online material is divided into like units and subunits. So each subunit there will be around 13 or 15 questions. Okay.
Okay.
So go to this subunit and do the questions, complete the questions. Then only you go for the second subunit.
Okay.
Because if our planning is done, 50% of our work is done.
Okay.
So then only you can plan your studies according to that. Then comes marks. A second. Okay. You can see the Excel sheet.
Yeah.
So you have MCQs. That is, you have 100 MCQs. Okay. Then essay, you have 2 essays. So the total marks to pass the examination, they count the marks on the basis of points. That is 500 points.
Okay.
So 75% of your examination is MCQ and 25% is essays. Clear?
Okay.
Out of this 500, 75% points goes to MCQs.
Okay.
Okay, then 125 points goes to essay. Then
Okay.
coming to the next part, in MCQ, how much you score to get the essay?
Okay.
If you score, you need to score 50% of total score. 250 points you should get out of this 100 essay questions. Clear?
Okay.
That means 250 is equivalent to 67 questions. See, like, what is this? This is actually 67% of your
Okay.
MCQ. Clear?
Right.
That means you have to get at least 67 questions correct.
Hmm.
Clear? Then only you can. Then only you will get the essay questions.
Okay.
Got it? So my question next thing: if you get 67 questions correct, will you pass or not?
No.
No, still you have essay.
Still, you have to get more. How much you have to get to pass the examination? That is
72% you said, right?
32%. That is
Still you have 5% more.
360 is the point you need to get. Clear?
Yes.
So you have to get at least how much? 110 from the essay.
Hmm. Hmm.
So in essay, what happens is it is valued by human beings.
Hmm.
The MCQs are valued by system.
Hmm.
So there is no chance that whatever you get, you will get. But in essay, you have one more burden is that you have to convince a human being.
Oh, okay.
It is a difficult part, right?
Right.
Yeah. So the more you score here in MCQs, the lesser you can score in essay.
Hmm.
So if you are scoring 75% in MCQ, that means out of 100 questions, if you get 75 correct,
Hmm.
then you have to get only lesser mark in essay. So the more you get in MCQ, you are becoming more safe.
Yes, I got it.
Yeah. This is your target. So at least 75, even though 75 is not the target, I will tell you how much, what should be your target. Okay. See, when you study one subunit, okay, go online. You can see the textbook, right?
Yeah.
Go online, do the questions, try to score
Hmm.
more than 90 to 95%.
Okay.
Okay, that means there is only 13 questions. Try to get at least 12 questions correct. Okay, or 11 questions correct. Like that. 90 to 95% you should score for one subunit. Clear?
Hmm.
Then
All right.
to each subunit you should get that much mark. Then only you go for the next subunit. Okay.
Okay.
Why I'm sticking on to 90 to 95%? Because this is MCQ. If you are not
Hmm.
thorough, people might think that MCQ is very easy. You can just try your luck, right?
Hmm.
But it is not the scenario. You should have enough knowledge, then only you can get a question correct. Clear?
Hmm.
So,
Right.
at least 95% you should score in each subunit. Then, after completing one full chapter, what you should do is you should select the whole questions together
Okay.
for half an hour or something. Okay.
Hmm.
Whatever questions you can get, like 20 questions you can do in half an hour. Okay.
Okay.
So that you should score around 85 to 90%.
Okay.
Why I say this? Because when we are doing one subunit, you are fully focused on one thing, right?
Hmm.
When you are doing the full question, you might get confused, like from which part this question is coming.
Okay.
Got it. Then comes to the full chapter or full paper. After completing each chapters, final your touch up. When you complete the 20 chapters, you can take the whole paper and do the test for, and you should get more than 80 to 85 percentage. Got it?
Okay.
That why I say, because you need to get minimum 75.
Okay.
Got it? Then only you can essay questions. Clear?
Right.
This should be your strategy whenever you study. Rajiv, you can hear, right?
Yes, I can hear.
Okay. So this is the strategy you should have. Then coming to, okay, any questions you have?
No, not yet. Not. It's okay.
And one more thing is that you will get 100 questions of MCQ and you will get 3 hours. That means average 1.8 minutes you will get per question, right?
Okay.
But when you study, you should keep a target of 1.5 minutes.
Okay.
Why? Because when it's an exam setup, you will be having a lot of other issues, tensions will be there. Okay, so you have to manage that. So you should be prepared for that itself. Okay.
Okay.
One more thing, you can develop this by taking time. Like when we complete by 20 questions, you can come to this point. Clear?
Okay. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that okay? In examination, it's a prometric center. It's an computer-based examination. You should book, and there is examination center in Abu Dhabi, Dubai, even in India also. We have in Trivandrum, we have one exam center. Okay.
Okay.
So in exam center, what happens is it's a AC room. Then you will be given a headset to avoid the noise, outside noise.
Okay.
Itself, that itself is a burden for you. So there is a lot of pressure outside, environmental pressure on you. Okay. Tackle that. I'm saying that 1.8 and 1.5 minutes per question. Clear? So this you
Right.
should have in your mind. Okay, then coming to the point, external financial reporting. So when you become a CMA, actually what you're going to become is a management accountant, right?
Right.
So management accountant report, usually we don't give outside. It's all internal purpose reports, right?
Right.
So one more thing, if you are preparing any financial statement, not in accordance to US GAAP. See, here the CMA, what we are studying is of US course. Okay. So whatever standards, accounting standards we study is US GAAP.
Okay.
That's one point you should keep in your mind. We will discuss this the US GAAP, not IFRS or any other standards. Okay. Only US GAAP we will discuss here.
Okay.
So if you are preparing after becoming a CMA, if you are preparing a financial statement or any statement which you are going to provide it to the outside users, okay, and if it is not accordance to US GAAP, then you should mention in the financial statement that this is not in accordance to US GAAP. Got it?
Okay.
Then usually we don't prepare any financial statements outside. For outside, that is done by financial accountants, management accountants. Then, why we are studying this portion? That will be one question you will be having, right? If you are not preparing a financial statement. Why? Because as a management accountant or a cost accountant, our inputs are taken as financial accountants' input. Our outputs sometimes. We are the one who is calculating the cost of the inventory, all those stuff, cost of the product, all these things. So these sometimes they take as their input. Clear?
Right.
Yeah. Coming to concept of financial accounting. So the objective of general purpose financial reporting, the balance sheet, P&L, cash flow statement, equity statement, all these things we make, we call it as general purpose financial report. Usually we don't segregate like that, right? But when it comes, actually it is for a general purpose only. For any management decision or internal decision, we can use this financial statement. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah, we refer the financial statement.
Even if someone gets our financial statement, for example, our competitor gets our financial statement, can they make any benefit out of that?
Yes, sure.
How?
They can understand what markup value you are making.
What markup value? That markup value we can adjust with our inventory, closing inventory, or by the depreciation adjustments, provisions. We can adjust, right? The
Yeah,
profit.
but from the income statement we can make it out, right?
Yeah, income statement also, the financial statement which we are publishing to outside. Normally, the format will be like we will have sales, cost of goods sold, gross profit, then selling and administration expense, then net profit, right?
Yeah, right.
In this, anyone they will not get a detailed business analysis. Like for
Yeah, that's
example, yeah, they might know just a profit. It will not
yeah.
help them in any way because we can make profits in different ways.
Hmm.
Correct. So even from the
Okay.
balance sheet also. So this help is basically the investors,
Hmm.
and this
Okay.
can be just a benchmark for competitors, but they will not get what is the exact mixture we have in our business. Like if we are giving a costing report, because costing report is a confidential report. Okay, if you are
Hmm.
preparing a costing report, in that it will be mentioned what kind of material we are using, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
Quality of the material, rate of the material.
right.
Even when we are looking into the process costing, if someone sees the process costing report, he will understand what is the real process we are having in our business. Clear?
You're right. Right.
That's all confidential data. Okay. So whatever we have, the financial reporting is general purpose financial reporting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the objective of general purpose financial reporting is to report financial information that is useful in making decisions about providing resources to the reporting entity. So what do you mean by these resources? For example, if I am an investor and I want to invest in the company, okay, if I get the financial statement, I can provide resources to the company, right? Like I can invest in the company as a capital or a loan or debenture or bonds, right?
Right.
The information reported relating to the entities. Okay, can you see the properly, or should I make it big?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
okay.
better.
Better.
Okay, great. The information report relating to the entity's economic resources and claim to them, the financial position and the changes to those resources and claims. So what do you mean by economic resources? What is an economic resource of a company?
Mm,
Means the assets.
Assets, right? Fixed assets, current assets, non-current assets, investments, all those things as a resources. What are the claims means? Our liabilities, correct?
right.
Claims on that resources. That from where we will get from the financial position. That means from the balance sheet, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Changes to those resources and claims where we will get. That's why to understand what is the change in the resource and claim, we prepare current year and previous year statement, right? Whenever we prepare a general purpose financial statement, we prepare current year and previous year. Clear?
Right.
Yes.
Then the information about economic resources and claims help evaluate liquidity, solvency, financial needs, and the probability of obtaining financing. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Yes.
Then users need to differentiate between changes in economic resources and claims arising from the entity's performance and other events and transactions such as issuing debt and equity. So we were talking about economic resources and the claims, right?
Mm.
So we said from the previous year statement and current year statement, we will get an understanding about there is a change or not. Correct? How can an
Okay.
economic and company's economic resource or the resource can change? For example, you have fixed asset, current assets. Means in general, non-current assets and current assets. How does it increase or decrease? On depending on what? If you make profit, okay, definitely it will reflect in your assets also, right?
Right.
Okay, so that is what the on the basis of entity's performance that we get from income statement. Clear? Or the economic resources can increase or decrease by how? By issuing debt or equity. If I issue some debt or issue some debentures or bonds, what happens? I will get some money, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
my claims has increased, also my resources also increase. Clear?
Yes.
Am I going too much in detail?
No, it's okay.
Okay, fine. Then, information about financial performance is useful for understanding the return on economic resources, its variability, and its components, evaluating management, and predicting future returns. So, what are the information we are going to get from the about the financial performance? That is, how much return we are getting from the economic resources. That's why we do ROE, return on equity, ROA, return on asset, return on total asset. We used to calculate these ratios, right?
Oh,
This is done to understand what is the return we are getting from the economic resources. Then its variability, how it's varying, and what are the components, like what is the component of our capital, like how much equity capital we have, common shares we have, preference shares we have, debentures we have, how many loans we have. This we get from the balance sheet, right? Balance sheet or financial statements. Hello? Okay?
hello.
Yeah. Then comes the evaluating management. From the performance like income statement, we will understand whether the management is utilizing the resources what they have properly or not. Right. Then only company can make profit, right? Then predicting future
Right.
returns. On depending upon, like for example, you are from the real estate. If you are renting, how much property you have to sublease, okay, that will give you an insight to how much future return you are going to earn, right? Got
Yes.
it?
Okay.
Okay, you do subletting, right? Or sales also?
Both.
Both. Okay, for example, if you are taking the subletting, those from the owners, when you take it, it is an asset for you, right?
Right.
So on that basis, how many such assets you have, on that basis, you can predict your future returns. Clear?
Yes.
Yep. Then for general purpose financial statements to be useful to external parties, they must be prepared in conformity with accounting principles that are generally accepted in the United States. That means US GAAP. Clear? Why this?
Okay.
This is important. If I prepare a financial statement not using GAAP, what is the problem we have? Do we have any problem? Why they are sticking on this? Okay, see, if we don't follow a standard, for example, if I pass a journal entry, like when I do a sales, my journal entry will be cash account up to sales, right?
Yes.
Even a US person or UK person or anyone in the world who passes sales entry is just same, correct? Why? Because it's a standard. So when we prepare a financial statement and we mention that this statement is prepared in accordance with US GAAP, then the user can understand what standards we have used. Okay. What are the ratios we are taking, or what is the criteria we are using? Got it?
Okay.
If I'm preparing a financial statement and I mentioned that this financial statement is prepared in accordance with IFRS. For example, when you take the audited reports, you will see the auditor's first comment, right? This financial statement is prepared according to IFRS. If you are working in UAE, normally you see this comment, right? Why we mentioned that? Because if we are preparing on the basis of IFRS, like LIFO based inventory management is not allowed in IFRS. Got it? But in US GAAP, LIFO and FIFO is allowed. So when a user sees that it is according to IFRS, then he will understand never the inventory is valued on the basis of LIFO method. Got it? Financial accounting differs from management accounting. Management accounting assesses management decision making, planning, and control. Management accounting information is therefore primarily directed to specific internal users, and it ordinarily need not follow GAAP. Got it?
Okay.
So in your companies, do you prepare any MI statement for like capital budgeting, or when you go for purchasing a new building, the valuation or the return which you're going to get, all those things, do you do that?
No.
Probably you don't do that. Okay, so in any kind, some kind of internal reports like MIS reports which we prepare, we don't follow US GAAP or even the what we say IFRS standards, right?
Yeah.
We prepare according to the requirement of the management.
Yes.
Yeah, right. So then, next comes the users of financial statements. Who are the users of financial statement? Users may directly or indirectly have an economic interest in specific business. Users with direct interest usually invest in or manage the business, and users with indirect interest advise, influence, or represent users with direct interest. Okay. So the direct use in interest parties are investors, potential investors, suppliers and creditors, employees, and management. And indirect interest parties are financial advisors and analysts, stock markets or exchanges, and regulatory authorities. Clear?
Yes.
Okay, tell me what is the use of our financial statement for stock markets or exchanges? How they can use it, our financial statement? Any idea? Okay. Like for example, if you're listed in a stock market, you're required to submit quarterly return, annual return of your financial statements to the stock markets. For example, if you're talking about India, we have SEBI, right?
Yes.
SEBI, and we have Sensex and Nifty. These people which all companies are listed there, they are required to submit their financial statements to the stock market, so that stock market can evaluate and find whether they are doing any malpractices in the financial statements or not. Clear?
Yes.
And why do they do this? To help the investors. Got it? Then regulatory authorities means SEBI. For example, in India, we could call it as SEBI. In US, we call it as SEC, Securities Exchange Commission. Okay, SEC, Securities Exchange Commission. They are the one who is regulating the stock market. Clear? Then external users use financial statements to determine whether doing business with the firm will be beneficial or not. Investors need information to decide whether to increase, decrease, or obtain an investment in a firm. Okay. As an investor, you need to know whether to buy more shares or to sell few shares and keep only less, or you should obtain a new share in a company. Got it?
Okay.
Then creditors need information to determine whether to extend credit and under what terms they should increase. Like for example, here in UAE, some companies, especially they take the customer's financial statement. Anil, can you hear?
Yeah, now I can hear.
Okay, in between it got disconnected, right?
Disconnected, yeah.
So did you lost anything in between? No, right?
No. Little only. Okay, no problem.
Okay, fine. Then next come creditors. For some cases, creditors need to be listed in the company, right? In that terms, they will ask our financial statement. They will check who are the owners and all those things, right?
All right.
And this is done to know how much credit they should give. Got it?
Yeah, right.
Okay, then financial advisors and analysts need financial statements to help investors evaluate particular investments. Then stock exchanges need financial statements to evaluate whether to accept a firm's stock or for listing, or whether to suspend the stocks trading. Then regulatory agencies may need financial statements to evaluate the firm's conformity with the regulations and to determine price levels in regulated industries. Got it?
Okay.
Okay, then. Internal users use financial statements to make decisions affecting the operations of the business. These users include management, employees, and board of directors. Management needs financial statements to assess financial strength and deficiencies, to evaluate performance results and past decisions, and to plan for future financial goals and steps toward accomplishing them. Then employees want financial state information to negotiate wages and fringe benefits based on the increased productivity and value they provide to the profitable firm. Clear?
Okay.
This is what like in US and even in India, for the bonus calculation, employees need to know, right, whether there is a
Yeah,
profit or not. If there is no profit,
publicly.
yeah, statutory rules, if there is no profit, there is no need to pay the bonus, right?
Yes.
Then financial statements are primary means of communicating financial information to external parties. Okay. Additional information is provided by financial statement notes, supplementary information such as management discussions and analysis, and other disclosures. Information typically disclosed in the note is essential to understand the financial statement. Right? If you get a financial statement like just P&L, balance sheet, equity statement, cash flow, will it help you to understand the what is written there? Is it enough?
No.
No, right?
No.
We need financial statement notes, right?
Yes.
Why do we need notes?
Because notes have the details of how what
Yes.
method we
Yes.
approach.
What are the estimates we have taken? What accounting standard, what financial accounting principles we have followed. If we are not complying with any accounting standards, we will mention that, right? The IFRS standard, which is eating your head, maybe IFRS 16, right? Now for your audits.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So these things, if you are not following, you have to mention, or if you are following, you have to mention for how many years you have taken the calculation, 5-year or 10-year leases you have taken or not, right? So these all things are mentioned in the financial statements. Okay. Then, when coming to, then the notes are considered part of the basic financial statement. They amplify or explain information recognized in the statement and are an integral part of statements prepared in accordance with GAAP. The first footnote accompanying any set of complete financial statements is generally one describing significant accounting policies such as use of estimates and assumptions and policies relating to, and among others, revenue recognition and allocation of assets, cost to current and future periods. Clear? Okay. Then comes financial statements notes should not be used to correct improper presentation. Okay. This point is clear?
Yeah.
Then a full set of financial statement includes the following statements like statement of financial position, we call it as balance sheet, income statement, then statement of comprehensive income, statement of changes in equity, statement of cash flow. So I hope you know what is statement of comprehensive income. Do you prepare that?
Yeah, other incomes which are not there.
Not other income. Actually, comprehensive income covers our normal income statement plus OCI, other comprehensive income.
Other comprehensive income.
So when in the income statement we have two things. Again, inside the income statement we have two more things: continued operations and discontinued operations. This is the format we have, right? Then, to be useful, information presented in financial statement must be relevant and faithfully represented. Okay. So, the financial statement, what we prepare, the details which are present should be relevant and faithfully represented. So, relevant means which is required for the decision taking, that should be disclosed. Clear? Then fairly presented means we have put our maximum effort to present it properly. Okay. It is not that fairly means it's truly represented. Okay. The difference between faithfully presented or truthfully presented is there is a difference. Do you know what is the difference between faithfully presented and truthfully presented?
No.
Faithfully presented means when we prepare the financial statement, we don't know anything negative or any wrong happening there. Okay. In truthfully presenting, when we know something, for example, when we account a fine, we had a traffic fine or something. Okay. In accounts, when we record the traffic fines, normally we present in like government fees and charges, right?
Mm-hmm.
The general practice, we charge put under government fees and charges, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So it is faithfully represented. But
Mm-hmm.
if you want to be truthful and you want to make your users understand that, okay, see, the company had few fines or penalties, then you should have a GL account called fines and penalties.
Mm-hmm.
Got it? So when you are
Right.
presenting like that, then you can say that you have truthfully presented.
Okay.
Got it? The idea.
Mm.
Okay, that. To be useful, information presented in the financial statement must be relevant and faithful. Then, to enhance the usefulness, the information should be comparable with similar information for other entities and the same entity for another period or date. Okay. So that is why, because of this enhancing usefulness or quality, we don't change our standards or the method of applying a standard every time. Like for example, we are following LIFO method or FIFO method of inventory. We will not change every year, right?
Mm.
Or if you are following a WDV, return on value of depreciation or straight line, we will not change frequently, correct?
Right.
If you change it frequently, we can't compare with our previous years.
Previous years.
Okay, then thus comparability allows users to understand similarities and differences. Clear?
Yeah.
Then financial statements are prepared under the going concern assumption, which means that the entity is assumed to continue operations indefinitely. Okay.
Okay.
As a result, liquidation values are not important. It is assumed that the entity is not going to liquidate in the near future.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So, why do we prepare balance sheet?
Mm.
On what
Okay.
basis we prepare balance sheet? We prepare balance sheet because of the going concern assumption.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah. Okay.
Why it is? Because if you are not having a going concern concept, like in India and all, we have the street vendors, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the idea of going concern, or they don't continue the business even tomorrow. Sometimes they go for next business, right?
Okay.
So when we have a continuity in the business, we need to know when we close the December, we need to know next year how much assets we have.
Mm-hmm.
That is the purpose of making a balance sheet, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're stopping our business on December 31st, we don't need a balance sheet. We will sell all the assets and go off. Clear? Okay. Then
Okay.
next comes the financial statement relationships. So when we make a financial statement, income statement is related to balance sheet. Balance sheet is related to income statement. They are related to cash flow statement or statement of equity, right? Even when we pass a sales entry, cash account update to sales will be hitting income statement and cash will be hitting balance sheet and cash flow.
Balance
Right.
sheet.
So there is a relationship between all these financial statements. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So financial statements complement each other. They describe different aspects of the same transaction, and more than one statement is necessary to provide information for a specific economic decision. The components or elements of one statement relating to those of other statement among the relationship are the following. For example, net income or losses from income statement is reported and accumulated in the retained earnings account. Right?
Okay. Okay.
A retained earning account is the component of equity section of the statement of financial position. Right?
Yes.
Mm.
And the component of cash and equivalents from the statement of financial positions are reconciled with the corresponding item in the statement of cash flow. Okay.
Okay.
And items of equity from statement of financial position are reconciled with the beginning balances on the statement of changes in equity.
Equity statement. Yeah.
Okay. Not equity share. We prepare a statement called statement of changes in equity.
Mm.
In your company, do you do that?
We don't prepare it,
You don't prepare. Okay.
but it'll be there in the financials.
Yeah, it's okay. You mean the auditors prepare, right?
Yes, auditor.
Okay, okay, okay. Actually, that is a wrong practice. Auditors are not
Hmm.
required to, supposed to prepare financial statement for you,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. Supposed to prepare it and give it to them.
Yeah, so yeah, it is supposed to prepare this all the 5 statements, yeah, and even the notes you are supposed to be prepared. You supposed to you prepare and submit to auditors, and their duty is just to say whether it is presented true and fairly, right?
Yes.
So, but here and even in India, the practice is wrong. Auditors are preparing. We just send the TB, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So then, next comes ending inventories are reported in the current assets of the statement of financial position and are reflected in the calculation of cost of goods sold in the statement of income. Okay.
Hmm.
Then amortization. Okay. How do you calculate the cost of goods sold? What is the formula?
You operate opening stock plus purchase minus closing stock.
Yes, correct. Okay, that is a method of calculating the cost of goods sold. Well, then amortization and depreciation reported in the statement of income are reflected in assets and liabilities balances in the statement of financial position. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay, then. Next comes accrual basis of accounting. Financial statements are prepared under the accrual basis of accounting. Accrual accounting records the financial effects of transactions and other events and circumstances when they occur rather than when their associated cash is paid or received. Okay. Then revenues are recognized in the period in which they were earned, even if the cash will be received in the future period. And expenses are recognized in the period in which they were incurred, even if the cash will be paid in future period. Clear?
Yes.
Tired?
No.
That's okay.
Okay, you are having a very deep breath. Yeah, okay, then comes statement of financial position, balance sheet. Okay. So, the statement of financial position, also called balance sheet, reports the amount of assets, items of value, and liabilities, that is debt, and the equity, that is the net worth, and the relationship with at a moment in time, such as at the end of the fiscal year. Right? When we prepare the balance sheet, we prepare as on 31st December or 31st March, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That on that particular date, what is the asset? What is the liability? That's it. Okay. It helps users assess liquidity, financial flexibility, the efficiency with which assets are used, capital structure, and risk. Okay. The basic equation presents a perfect balance between the entity's resource and its capital structure. The entity's resource consists of assets the entity deploy in its attempt to earn a return. The capital structure consists of amount contributed by creditors, that is liabilities, and investors. So assets is equal to liability plus equity. The equation is based on the proprietary theory. According to this theory, equity is an enterprise in which in what remains after the economic obligation of the enterprise are deducted from the economic resources. So in a proprietary theory, it says that whatever assets we have, assets minus liability, whatever we have, or even the net asset what we have, that is part of the proprietor. That is the owner's equity, right?
Oh, that's a good.
Then we see what are the elements of balance sheet. Elements of balance sheet. Assets are resources controlled by the entity as a result of past events. Okay, they represent probable future economic benefits to the entity. So, what are assets? Assets are
resources
controlled by the entity, right? If we have a car and we don't have the control over the car, then it is not our asset.
Okay, control.
Yeah, like why there is an introduction of right to use of asset, right? In IFRS 16, we have this thing, right? Right to use of asset.
Yeah, right.
Why we have it? because we have a control over that asset.
Hmm.
For example, if you are leasing the building for 10 years, for this 10 years, you have the right because you have a contract with them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So even though there is no contract, like normally every company work in same building, but in every 12 months we used to renew, right?
Okay.
So even though we call it as substance over form, okay? Substance over form means even though the formation is that every year we are renting, that is kind of operating lease, right?
Hmm.
But when we look into detail, it is a financial lease, correct? Or a long-term lease.
Long term.
Long-term lease. Why? Because we are working in the same building for the last 10 years and we don't have any plan to move out of the building, correct?
Right.
So what happens? We have a control over the building, even though we are renewing the rent every year. Clear? And how we got the control over the building or the entity or property? Because of the past event. Okay. Past event can be a rental agreement. Got it?
Okay. Yeah. Right.
Rental agreement, it can, if it's a rent, it's a rental agreement. If it is a purchase, that is a purchase happened. Clear? Okay. These represent probable future economic benefit to the entity. Okay.
Yes.
Examples include inventory, accounts receivables, investments, and property, plant, and equipments. Clear? Okay. Then liabilities are present obligations of the entity arising from past events. Correct? We took something on credit from someone in the past. That's why we
Okay.
have a liability, right? Okay. For example, next month I am going to purchase something on credit. Do I record the liability? No, right? No.
No.
Now I will not record. Once that happens, then only I will record.
Yes.
So their settlement is expected to result in an outflow of economic benefit from the entity. Clear?
Yes.
Or even we can say that the past obligation is fulfilled by or settled by the future economic benefit. Am I right? My statement is correct or not?
Say again. Sorry.
My present obligation or the past obligation, present obligation is settled with the future economic benefit. Got it? Did you understand what is it?
No.
Now I have a loan, for example. Okay, personally.
It's a present obligation. No.
Present obligation.
Yes.
How I am going to pay? I will work for 1 month, and next month when I get the salary, I will pay, right?
Okay. Okay.
That is outflow from future economic benefit. Clear?
Okay. Okay.
So examples include loans payable, bonds issued by the entity, and accounts payable. Okay. Then, equity is the residual interest in the assets of the entity after subtracting all its liabilities. Okay. Examples include a company's common stock, preferred stock, and retained earnings. So normally, how you call the shares? You call it as common shares, preferred shares, right? But in US, they call it as common stock and preferred stock. Okay. Even they say like purchase of stock. That means it is not that they are purchasing inventory. If they are purchasing inventory, they will specifically say purchasing of inventory. Clear?
Right.
One more thing is that this paper is based on US, so the language which they are using, the words, the sentence framework, it's all on US basis. Clear?
Yeah.
That's why you need to go through the material, go through the online questions. Otherwise, we are more familiar to UK, British English, right? Right. So it will make it trouble for us. Even sometimes you get a question that says company purchase few stock. We will think that it is inventory, but it is actually their investment in shares. Got it?
Oh yeah. Okay.
That you should keep in your mind. Then equity is affected not only by operations but also by transactions with owners such as dividends and contributions. Right? How does the equity affect? When we get a profit, it is added to the equity, right?
Yes.
Means
Yes.
inside the main heading of equity, we have retained earnings, correct?
You're right.
So the total equity will be adding, showing as the retained earnings including. Then what else? If there
Dividend
is a dividend we are paying, from where we are going to pay? From the retained earnings, right?
from the return. Yeah.
Or even the company is having more shares, someone is investing more capital, then it's called contribution. It's also affecting the equity. So equity will changes in these three scenarios: by operations, by dividends, and contributions. Clear? Okay.
Okay.
Investment by owners are increase in equity of a business entity. They result from transfers of something of value to increase ownership interest. Assets are the most common transferred items, but service also can be exchanged for equity interest. So what does it mean? Okay, if I want to buy some shares of a company, I can pay cash, right?
Yeah.
Or can I work for that company for a few months and say, okay, see, don't pay me in cash, just issue me shares. Can I do that?
Mm,
Company is not getting money.
mm.
Will the company issue shares to me?
No,
They can do. Okay.
they can do adjustments.
Yeah, actually they are issuing shares. Why? Because I provided a service to them. Clear?
Against the against the payable.
Yeah, there's a payable. Okay, against the
Mm.
payable they are paying. So that means
Mm.
ultimately what happens is they are issuing shares
Mm.
against a service which I provided. Clear?
Mm.
Okay.
Okay. Instead of paying cash, they are paying shares.
What?
Instead of paying cash,
Yeah, we are providing service.
they are on.
Okay. Instead of paying cash, we are there paying with shares. Clear?
Mm.
Distribution to owners are decreases in equity. They result from transferring asset to owners. A distribution to owners decreases the ownership interest in the company. Right?
Mm.
Then, assets and liabilities are separated in the statement of financial position into current and non-current categories. Assets are generally reported in order of the liquidity. Okay, like in the order of liquidity means cash, bank, receivables, stocks, means inventory. Correct. So see, if you are reporting, so assets will be classified as current assets and non-current assets. Liabilities will be classified as current liabilities, non-current liabilities, and equity. Clear?
Yeah.
In current assets, we have cash, certain investments, accounts and notes receivables, inventories, prepaid expenses. Then in non-current assets, we have certain investments and funds, plant property and equipment, intangible assets, and other non-current assets. Okay. In liability side, we have current liabilities, accounts payable, current notes payable, then current maturity of non-current liabilities. Okay. Do you know what is this?
Mm. Yeah, from the non-current liability which is going to mature as a current.
Yeah, in 12 months, what we are going,
Yeah.
for example, in the December 31st, when you prepare the financial statement and you have a bank loan, it's a long-term loan. So what you should do is for the next 12 months, how much principal portion we are going to pay, we should classify from the current liability, non-current liability to current liability. Clear?
Current liability.
A
Yeah.
journal entry will be passed.
Yeah.
Correct? Okay. Then in non-current liabilities, we have non-current notes payables and bond payables. Then in equity side, we have investment by owners, retained earnings, accumulated other comprehensive income, other OCI we call. Then non-controlling interest in a consolidated entity. Okay.
Mm.
You know what is non-controlling interest?
Not controlling interest. No idea.
Okay. Whether your company is a group of company or is a single owner, what kind of company it is?
Single owner.
Single owner, that's right. Okay. See, if you are having a parent company, one company, for example, you are running one company and you invested in another company, okay, and you have more than 50% shares,
Okay.
then that company will become your subsidiary. We call it as subsidiary.
Right.
Right. So
Right.
when we have a investment more than 50% in another company, we have to consolidate the financial statement. Consolidate means we will add together all the assets and liabilities and profit and loss account of the other company also together with the parent company. Clear?
Right.
So for example, I'm telling my company, the main company, I have invested in some other company with 90% investment. Okay.
Okay.
So how much assets I will add in my balance sheet?
The 90%.
I will add 100%. The rule of consolidation is that I should, if I have more than 50% shares in another company, then I should fully consolidate that financial statement with my financial statement. Clear?
Okay.
So what happens to this 10% of shares which I am not holding? They are called the non-controlling interest. Clear?
Okay.
So that amount, whatever amount represented by them, okay, that I will show as a liability in my equity side. Got it? Clear?
Yeah, right.
Now, is it
So more than
10%?
50.
Yeah, if more than 50% I am holding, we have to consolidate. Okay.
Okay. Is
That's
it quoted under any
and,
company law or?
no, this is actually as per even IFRS and as per what we say US GAAP.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, actually we don't usually use any company law rules. Got it.
Oh, okay.
Basically, it is in India, and that too not in accounting. They basically do things on like day-to-day activities and all those stuff. Right. Then,
suppose if two parties more than 50 or 50%. If it is suppose two parties are there, both of having 50%, then both the people will display on their financials these things.
Okay, you're asking like for example, I am a subsidiary. Okay.
Yeah.
And Rajiv have invested 50% in my company, and Anil also invested 50%. Right.
Yes, exactly.
But still, here one point is that even though we say that 50% shares, there's one point that is called 50% controlling interest.
Okay.
So who is having more control? So in this case, what you will do is you will equally take the assets, like you will take full assets and you will show the non-controlling interest there.
Okay, whoever having the is like signatory authority or maybe the board chairman.
Yeah,
who are having control. Yes. Okay.
Okay. Even in this case, even both of you can take the full assets.
Okay.
The rule is that 50% and above. Got it. 50%. If you are holding 50% in my company, you will add all my assets and liabilities in your balance sheet, and you show minority interest what all Anil have as 50%. Clear?
Okay. Right.
Same way Raju also do, or Anil also do. Clear?
You're right.
Then comes coming to current and non-current assets. An asset is classified as current on the statement of financial position if it is expected to be realized in cash or sold or consumed within the entity's operating cycle of or 1 year, whichever is longer. Okay. So what does it mean realized in cash? Means we will get in cash, right? Give me an example of a current asset, okay, which will be realized in cash.
Inventory.
Okay, inventory. Okay, inventory. Actually, you should sell, right?
Yeah.
Then only when you sell, it will become receivables. Then only you will get cash. Okay.
Okay.
So realized in cash means receivables will come. Okay. Not receivables will come. Clear?
Yeah.
Or sold means inventory. It can be clear.
Yes.
Consumed means raw materials, work in progress, or basic raw materials which you have. Clear?
Right.
So these all comes under the current assets. Clear?
Okay. Okay.
Following are the major categories of current assets. There is cash and cash equivalents, certain individual trading and available for sale securities, and held to maturity debt securities, receivables, inventory, and prepaid expenses. Then prepaid expenses are valued on the balance sheet at the cost less the expired or used portion. Okay. Anything you don't understand in this portion?
Yes, no.
Okay, fine. So what about this prepaid expenses? That means how we going to account? For example, on July, I paid insurance of 12 months. Okay, 1 year. So what we normally do is what December 31st, we will account for 6 months expense and 6 months as prepaid, right?
Yeah, right.
That is what they have mentioned here also. Clear? But the method of saying is different. So this language you should understand. That is the first step you have to cover. Clear? Non-current assets
That means they are showing as a prepaid first, then they are reversing the cost.
Yeah, they are amortizing. Actually, we say
They are amortizing.
Yeah, prepaid expenses every month we will apportion, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so that's what. Then non-current assets are those not qualifying as current. The following are the major categories of non-current assets. There is investments and funds. They include non-operating items intended to be held beyond the longer of 1 year or the operating cycle. The following assets are typically included, that is investment in securities made to control or influence other entity and other non-current securities. Okay. Then certain available for sales and held to maturity debt securities may be non-current. Then funds restricted as to withdraw or use for other than the current operations, for example, retire long-term debt, satisfy pension obligation, or pay for the acquisition or construction of non-current assets. Okay, a lesser's net investment in a sales type lease. Clear?
Okay.
Then property, plant, and equipment are tangible operating items recorded at cost and reported net of any accumulated depreciation. They include land and natural resources subject to depletion. Example: oil and gas, buildings, equipment, furniture, fixtures, leasehold improvements, land improvements, a lessee's right to use of assets held under finance and operating lease, non-current assets under construction, and other depreciable assets. Clear?
I have one doubt on the first part, on the investment and funds. The D, lesser's net investment in sales type lease.
Okay. Lesser investment, net investment in a sales type lease. I think you might have seen the advertisement by Danube and all. Like you pay 1% now for down payment 10,000, and you can pay installments 1% every year, right? Every month.
Okay.
So who we are, for example, I am a customer. I am a lessee, right? Danube is the lesser. So for him, he is selling something to me, okay? And he have investment there, correct?
Okay.
For example, the building cost is 500,000 dirhams.
Yeah, that is his investment.
Yeah, it's his investment. So whatever I pay,
okay,
he have to reduce from that. Got it?
Yeah.
For him, he have to receive is only, for example, 500,000 is the building cost. I have paid 100,000. So balance 400,000 is only his asset. Clear?
Only his asset. Yeah, right.
It's in a sale type lease. Got it? Clear?
Okay, in a sales type lease. Okay,
Yes.
now understood.
If it is a operating type lease, it is not an investment and fund. It is actually plant, property, and equipment. Got it?
Okay.
Clear the concept?
Oh.
Okay. So that's why we say it here. A lessee's right to use of an asset held under finance and operating lease. For example, here, this is in the case of lessee we are talking. For the lessor, also plant and property is his asset.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So that means if when I make it 100,000, when I pay 100,000, in my book it will be property and plant equipment.
Yes, plant, property, and equipment. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Ultimately, if you're comparing two companies, 500,000 is the value of asset, but splitted into 400,000 and 100,000. Clear?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Then, intangible assets are non-financial assets without physical substance. Examples are patent and goodwill. Clear? Okay.
Okay.
So my question, I have invested in some debentures or bonds in a company. Is it an intangible asset or not?
Bonds.
Yeah, I invested in a bond.
It's not an intangible.
No, not no.
Not intangible asset. Why?
Yeah, because that can be liquidated as a physical presence is there.
In bond?
And there is a fixed value there.
Yeah, even patent also have a value, right? We get patent certificate, right?
But there is
Yeah.
a physical existence there.
No, there is no physical existence for a bond.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why the definition is important. Non-financial asset.
Okay.
Okay.
Bond, debentures, what we say, stocks and all, they are they are financial asset. Clear?
Oh, okay.
Both of them doesn't have physical substance. If anyone asks you to show some bond, you can show only some paper.
Yeah.
Document. If someone asks you to show a machinery, you can show the physical machinery. Got it? Okay, right. So see, these small things will come as
Right.
question. Got it?
Yeah.
So that's why we should have 90-95% knowledge in each area. Current and non-current liabilities. Current liabilities are expected to be settled or liquidated in the ordinary course of business during the longer of the next year or the operating cycle. Okay. Generally speaking, the current liabilities are expected to be settled or liquidated within 1 year from the balance sheet date. Okay. The following are the major categories of current liabilities. That is trade payables, other payables, unearned revenue, other obligations. So trade payables are items entering into the operating cycle. Example for materials and supplies used in producing goods or services for sale. Other payables are arising from operations such as accrued wages, salaries, rentals, royalties, and taxes. Okay. Then unearned revenue arising from collection in advance of delivering goods or performing services. Example, ticket sales revenue. Clear?
Yeah.
And other obligations are expected to be liquidated in the ordinary course of business during the longer of the next year or the operating cycle. These include short-term notes given to acquire capital assets, payments required under sinking fund provisions, payments on the current portion of serial bonds or other non-current debts, long-term obligations that are or will become callable by the creditors because of the debtor's violation of a provision of the debt agreement at the balance sheet date, possible obligation for warrants, guarantees and estimated returns, then short-term leases of the lessee elects to recognize a right to use assets and a lease liability. So, coming to these points, any words or any sentence you don't understand, you don't know, let me know. Do you know what is sinking fund?
Yeah.
You know, right?
Yeah, which we are collecting for the future payments.
Yes. You might have studied in hire purchase, right?
Yeah.
In India. Yeah. The same concept. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Because you invest somewhere to settle another liability. Clear?
Yeah.
Then comes the current portion of the serial bonds or other non-current debt. Like serial bond means debentures. Normally we have debentures like 12% debentures for 10 years, 5 years, right? This is what we see, right? But some debentures, what they do is every year they will pay the interest plus the principal portion. So what we call it as serial bonds. Okay, on equal series of payments they do the repayment. Clear? So these serial payments like bonds for the next 12 months, how much we are going to pay will be the current obligation. Clear?
Okay.
Then comes okay, long-term obligations that are or will become callable by the creditors because of the debtor's violation. For example, you might have taken a bank loan for 5 years. Okay, and you pledge your inventory. Okay. And there is some clause that every month you have to submit stock audit report. For example, there is a clause.
Okay.
But you fail to provide the stock audit report monthly. So when there is a violation in the debt agreement, what will bank ask? They will ask you to pay back the loan immediately. Correct.
Right.
The agreement will get cancelled. So then what happens? The long-term obligation will become the current obligation. Clear?
Current obligation.
Possible obligations for warrants and estimated returns, like warrants means share warrants or stock warrants. You might have heard, right?
Possible obligation warranties. Yeah.
Yeah, warrants means this is warranties, not the warrant. Warranties means when we sell something, we give warranties, right? Any repair or something that comes here. Then comes short-term leases if the lease elects to recognize a right to use of asset and a long-term lease. Like for example, when we talk about IFRS 16 itself, it is the option. For example, even I am having an operational lease. Okay, I can record the right to use of asset. Actually, I am supposed to record right to use of asset, even though it is an operating lease. Correct? But there is a provision that small industries or small companies, they can opt not to record right to use of asset. Clear? That is the two options they have given. So if I am opting to record a right to use of asset, then I can record it for 12 months and write off in the 12 months, every equal months. Clear? Then unearned revenue, I think you know, right?
Yeah. Advances.
Yeah, advances which you receive from the customers. Then current liabilities do not include short-term debt, if any, intends to refinance them in a non-current basis and demonstrate an ability to do so. Okay. The ability to refinance may be demonstrated by entering into a refinancing agreement before the balance sheet is issued. You understood?
These are not qualifying as a current. No, which is not non-current. Yeah.
It will be non-current, right? So what will be non-current?
Which is not falling in the 1 year period.
Okay, that is a normal general rule, right? But here, what they are mentioning here. Okay, I will tell you. Okay, for example, you are having some accounts payable. Okay. Accounts payable is your current liability, right?
Okay.
For
Right.
example, you have to pay 500,000 as non-current current liabilities to all the creditors. Clear?
Okay.
500,000 you have to pay. But what happens? You don't have money with you. So you plan to borrow a 5-year loan from the bank. On a long non-current basis, you are going to refinance. You are going to refinance your current liability with a non-current liability. Got it? And if you do that, then it will become automatically non-current liability. Correct? Then demonstrate an ability to do so, or you should have a. Why we are saying this? Because on 31st December, when you prepare the financial statement, you have a current liability of 500,000 as creditors. Clear? And you took the decision on January 15th or February or March, for example. You took a decision to refinance these creditors with a non-current liability. Got it?
Okay.
So the ability to refinance may be demonstrated by entering into a refinancing agreement before the balance sheet is issued. For example, you prepare the balance sheet date. Balance sheet date is 31st December. Okay. The issue date will not be 31st December. Correct?
Right.
Because you prepare your balance sheet and you send to the auditor, he keep it for there for 2 months or 3 months. After January, February or March, he will issue the balance sheet, right?
Right.
He will audit and give you, then you start issuing to the public. So that is the date. Before that date, if you take any kind of decision to refinance your current liability with a non-current liability, then you are supposed to report that current liability as a non-current liability in your 31st December balance sheet. Got it?
Right.
This much story is hidden in this small book.
And the small one, yeah.
Okay, got it? That's why I asked you whether you understood or not. The concept is clear.
Yes.
Why this is important? Because on 31st December, you don't have any kind of situation that you are going to refinance the current liability. Got it? But after that and before the balance sheet issuing date, you had an agreement to refinance this loan. Got it? Okay, then you have to adjust in your balance sheet as non-current liability. Clear? Then non-current liabilities are those not qualifying as asset. Current, the non-current portions of the following items are reported in the sections of the balance sheet. That is non-current notes and bonds, a lessee's liability under finance and operating leases, most post-retirement benefit obligation. Like what is this? You know, when you record the leases, you have, for example, you are a lessee. That means you are the one who is renting the building, right?
Yes.
So you will record right to use of asset, correct?
Yeah.
That is in your asset side. And you will record one more thing in your liability side, that is the lease liability. Correct. Even it's a operating lease or financing lease, you will record that. Clear? Hello?
Yeah, right.
Then next comes the post-retirement benefit obligations like the gratuity obligations which we record here. Then deferred tax liabilities arising from indefinite tax allocations, obligation under product or service warranty agreements, and deferred revenues. Clear? Okay. Anything you don't understand? You don't have an idea here?
The fourth point, deferred tax liability.
Deferred tax liabilities. Okay. Deferred tax liability means, for example, just like we have income tax department in India. Okay. In US, they have IRS department, Internal Revenue Service. Okay. They are the one who is collecting taxes. Okay. Income tax. I'm talking about income tax. So what happens is the taxation rule and the accounting rule is different, right? In most of the cases, right?
Okay.
So we, as accountants, we prepare financial statements or we calculate tax on the basis of US GAAP. But in tax department, they calculate on their own basis. For example, I'll put one example here. We have, for example, okay, US GAAP. We are preparing on the basis of US GAAP, then IRS. We have sales, COGS, then GP we have, okay. Then we have selling and administration expense, and including that we will put depreciation also. And we have net profit. For example, my sales is 125,000, COGS is 75,000, okay, and selling and administration is 25,000, and I had a depreciation of 10,000, okay.
Okay.
My net profit will be then 40% is my tax, and my EAT will be, EAT means earnings after tax, okay. Okay, so same thing I will submit for the income tax department also, right?
Right.
When I submit the same thing to income tax department, they said, okay, according to income tax department, they will not permit, okay, they will not allow 10,000 depreciation. Got it?
Hmm.
They will allow only 5,000 as depreciation. Got it?
Hmm.
So what happened? According to them, I have 20,000 as profit, and according to US GAAP, how much profit I have?
15,000.
Got it. So in my books of account, what is my journal entry I'm going to put? Income tax expense. Okay.
Hmm.
Account debtor to income tax payable. Okay. How much I will put?
10,000. Sorry, 6,000.
6,000, right? Okay.
Hmm.
6,000. But if I pay to income tax department 6,000, will they agree with me?
No.
No.
Right. Income tax payable to bank. How much I should pay? 8,000, right?
Yeah.
Now they will not make problem with me, correct?
Yeah.
So now in income tax payable account, what amount I have?
They have 6,000.
No, 6,000 is credit there and 8,000 is
Yeah.
debit there, right? So what is the balance of this account? 2,000 debit balance, correct?
2,000. Yeah.
So this is an asset, right?
Yeah.
Why? Because I am paying more tax, okay,
Hmm.
than which is supposed to be paid as per US GAAP. Got it?
Yes. Yes.
So 2,000 is my deferred tax asset.
Hmm.
Clear?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll do one more thing. Next, for example, I claimed 10,000 as depreciation. Okay.
Hmm.
But according to IRS, they says no, your depreciation is 15,000. Okay.
Hmm.
Then what happens? I am supposed to pay how much? 4,000, right?
Hmm.
4,000 I am supposed to pay. I will pay 4,000, but I calculated 2,000 as payable, right?
Hmm.
My calculation is 6,000. 6,000 is my payable liability. So what happened here? I am paying less, correct?
Hmm. Hmm.
But I was supposed to pay 6,000 according to US GAAP. Clear?
Yeah.
Now the 2,000 is the difference. 2,000 is the credit balance, correct?
Hmm.
So this 2,000 is my liability.
Okay.
What
You're
liability
right.
it is? Deferred tax liability. Clear?
Hmm.
This 2,000 will be adjusted in the future.
Hmm.
Got it? Anything we adjust in the future, we call it as deferred tax. Deferred. Clear?
Hmm.
Concept is clear? Good enough?
Yeah. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah.
But still, it's payable only.
Huh?
But it's a payable.
Yeah, it's a payable. Now, clear. Deferred tax liability arises from indebted tax allocation. Clear?
Hmm.
So it's a
Okay.
non-current liability.
Hmm.
Okay, done?
Done.
Okay, then obligation under product. Okay, then comes the deferred revenue. Okay, we collected some money in advance, but it's for a longer period. Clear?
Hmm. Hmm.
Then it comes the deferred tax revenue. Then what else? Equity. Okay. Till here we will complete. Okay.
Hmm.
Then equity. Any recognized transactions that does not have equal and offsetting effects on total assets and total liability changes equity. Correct?
Hmm.
Okay. The following are the major items of equity. That is capital contributed by owners. That's at par value of common and preferred stock issued and additional paid-in capital. Right. See, in India, the entry which we use were what is the entry for when we purchase a or when we issue capital. For example, they pay par value of the share is one rupee, and or 10 rupee, and the investor is paying 12 rupee. Then 10 rupee will go to share capital,
The-
and 2 rupee will go to
The
securities
additional
premium.
paid,
What do you say? Anil?
additional paid in capital.
Additional paid in capital. In India, we don't call additional paid in capital. We call it as securities premium, right? I think you heard.
Yeah, securities paid.
Yeah. Here in US, we call it as additional paid in capital.
Hmm.
Okay. Or in internationally, we call it as additional paid in capital. Clear?
Hmm.
Additional paid in capital is the amount received in excess of par value at the time stock was issued. Stock was sold. Clear? Then
Okay.
retained earnings are the accumulated net income not yet distributed to owners. Dividends can be paid when retained earnings has a credit balance. A payment in excess of this balance is a return of capital, not a dividend. For example, your company is running and your company doesn't have profit. Okay. Can you pay dividend?
No.
Okay. Company had profit till last year. This year there is no profit. Can you pay dividend?
No.
No. If you have balance in retained earnings, you can pay still.
Yeah.
Got it. But if you don't have anything in your retained earnings and still you are paying dividend, that means from where you are paying? You are paying from the stock itself, right?
Yeah.
Like for example, you are running a sole proprietor company. Okay.
Hmm.
You have just capital account and you have accumulated profits account, right? Accumulated P&L account, correct? So if you don't have profit and still that owner is withdrawing something, then it is a drawing, right?
Yeah.
If it's a drawing more than the profit and loss, then what happens? The amount will be taken from the capital.
Yes.
His investment will become lesser. Okay, got it?
Yeah.
So dividend can be paid when retained earnings has a credit balance. A payment in the excess of this balance is a return of capital, not a dividend. Got it?
Yes.
And occasionally the board of directors restricts retained earnings to prevent payment of dividends. The usual reason is the board plans to reinvest the earnings in the business. Clear?
Yes.
Then,
Right.
treasury stock is the firm's own stock that has been repurchased if it reflects in shareholders' equity as a contra account. Thus, it's not an asset. So, what is a contra account? You might have heard about contra entry, right?
Contract. Yeah.
Contra entry when we do from bank to cash and cash to bank and all those stuff. Correct?
Yes.
So, what is a contra asset? Any idea? Have you heard about this? No. Okay. In balance sheet, we have long-term assets, right? Fixed assets, correct? So we have accumulated depreciation also, correct?
Okay. Yeah.
So where do we show this accumulated depreciation? In liabilities or in asset side?
In asset side only by reducing.
In asset side by reducing. If we are doing that, we call it as a contra account. Got it?
Yeah.
Or even in examination, you will get it as a, for example, if it is you are calling anything regarding accumulated depreciation, that means it is a liability, but we are recording in the asset side in a minus. Then we call it as contra asset account. Got it?
Okay. Okay.
Or if it is an asset thing, but we are recording in liability side as a minus, then we call it as contra liability account. Clear?
Okay.
Okay. So treasury stock is recorded as a contra account in the shareholders equity side. Clear? This is not an asset. That's why we put it in a bracket or in minus.
Bracket. Okay.
Then accumulated other comprehensive income items not included in the net income. Clear?
Net. Yeah.
Then one more question I had. Okay, do shareholders can ask for dividend? Do the shareholders have right to ask for dividend?
Sorry?
Do the shareholders have the right to ask for dividend?
Yes.
Can they force the company to pay the dividend?
No.
Actually, they can't even ask. Shareholders doesn't have any right to ask for dividend. It is up to the management's decision whether to pay the dividend. Management means the board of directors. Board of directors will choose whether to pay the dividend or not. Okay.
Yeah.
The only option the investors or the shareholders have is to vote in the annual general meeting or AGM to select the board of directors. Clear? For example, I invested in some company and the board of directors is not paying dividend. Okay. The only thing I can do is in the next election, I can elect someone who will pay dividend as board of directors. Clear? Okay. Why? It is because second thing, if the board of directors declared a dividend, okay. Once the board of directors declared dividend, then it is a legal liability for the company to pay the dividend. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why occasionally the board of directors restricts retained earnings to prevent payment of dividends. The usual reason is that the board plans to reinvest the earnings in the business. Got it?
Okay.
Sometimes they will not pay dividend because they want this money to reinvest. Okay, that. Balance sheet elements are permanent accounts, like assets, liabilities, and equities are recorded in permanent real accounts. Their balances at the end of one accounting period is carried forward as the beginning balance of the next accounting period. Then major balance sheet notes disclosures are based on maturity pattern of bond issues, significant uncertainties such as pending litigation, and then details of capital stock issues. Clear? Normally, what according to the balance sheet, what are the notes basically we give? Okay, that is, if we have investments, we have to give the details of the investment, in which company, how many numbers of shares, what is the market value, all those things. Okay, and if you have any bonds issued, then you have to mention what kind of bond. It is a serial bond or a term bond. What is the maturity of the bond? What is the interest of the bond? Clear?
Okay.
And if there is any litigation, that means any court cases happening, we have to mention there is a court case happening with so and so party, and what is the chances of winning the case, and all those things we should mention in the notes. Clear? Then details of the capital stock issued, that means authorized capital, issued capital, subscribed capital, paid up capital, all these things you know, right? Okay, these things we will mention in the notes. Next comes the limitation of the balance sheet. That balance sheet shows the company's financial position at a single point in time. Accounts may vary significantly a few days before or after the publication of the balance sheet. So, for example, if I want to show my balance sheet good, that my current asset ratios and all those things, I want to show it as good, then what I will do? I will not record a liability. Okay, or I will not deposit the money, or I will not make any payment to the supplier. Got it? This kind of malpractices I will do to make the balance sheet look good. Then many balance sheet items such as fixed assets are recorded at historical cost, which will not equal their fair value. Clear?
Right.
The preparation of the balance, actually, if you're talking about the limitation, this is not 100% limitation. Correct statement. Why? Because we do depreciation and we do the impairment loss entry to the assets, right? That we compare with the fair value. So we are adjusting the values. Clear? Then the preparation of the balance sheet requires estimates and management judgment. What is this? Give me an example where you take management judgment and estimate. Any idea?
No.
Okay, for example, in depreciation, we charge depreciation, right, on straight line method or WDV method. So who fixes the number of useful life of the asset?
No, that is operation department.
The operation department. That is actually management decision, right?
Management decision, yeah.
Management judgment. If I want to depreciate an asset for 5 years, I can do it for 5 years. If I want to depreciate for 3 years, I can do it. So these estimates are coming from the management. So there is a management judgment. Clear? Okay, then balance sheet omits many items that cannot be recorded objectively but have a financial value to the company. Okay. Clear? Done. Okay. Anything else you want to know from me? Okay, next week we will continue with the 1.3. Okay.